Hey everybody, it's Matt from House of Vacuums, and today we have a Dyson stick on the bench. This is I think it's a V7, and in any case, the issue with this is that the brush roll is not turning. So we're going to check out and see why that may or may not be. So let's go ahead and first give it a test run. So the brush roll is turning. Now, what we want to do is while it's running, we're going to check loose electrical connections. So particularly where the wand plugs into the power nozzle and where the wand plugs into the main power unit. Because there's some flex right there. So we want to see if there might be a short there. So we'll turn it on and give that another try. We're also checking the elbow. So we got the nozzle to shut off, and I'm not 100% sure whether it's the connection between the wand and the power unit, or if it's the connection further up. So let's check that out. There's some flex kind of all over. This is an older machine, so we're going to see why it's doing that. So let's go ahead and we're going to unplug this. Obviously, the nozzle is full of hair, so that's going to need cleaned out, but it is turning and doesn't sound like there's anything really wrong with it. Bunch of dirt in here, we're going to dump that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and to get to the filter here, we take this apart, and oh my, yeah, there's a lot going on there. So this filter is pretty shot. That's been wet with dirt. I don't know if that's going to wash out really well. So let me go ahead and clean this up. The first thing that I want to do is I want to check the electrical connections at the wand and see if there's any signs of burning. So if we look here, hopefully that's not too blown out. Let's adjust this. There we go. All right, so if we look here, we're going to see whether or not these connections are burned. Let's take a look with our handy GoPro. So if you look at those terminals, they're shiny. I don't see any issues with them. There's no signs of like arcing or burning. So I feel like that's probably not the issue. If it was in fact arcing and burning, there would be these terminals would be burned, and I don't see any signs of that. I think these are fine. So I don't think those have been arcing. So that makes me think that the issue here is the flex between the cup unit and the motor unit. So when this goes together, there's some flex here between the two pieces. And my guess is going to be that it's disconnecting here at these terminals, the terminals right here. So if we look on this side, these are not in super great shape. You can see here, they're not horrible. These can be cleaned up for sure, but I feel like there has been some arcing right there. So probably what needs to happen is we're going to take these tabs right here and right here, bend them out a little bit, then we'll clean up the connection, and then we're going to try it again. And if it does not shut off, then we're in business. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. This is a super simple fix. So what we're going to do is the spring-loaded side is this side. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take each of these tabs, oops, and not go too far, Matt. If this pops out like this, then what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and push it back down and in. So by doing that, you can see, I don't know if you can see the difference. This one right here is riding lower than the one that we just bent out. So we're just going to do that same thing on this side. Just give it a little bendy bend, and then we're going to push it back in. Okay. Now both those terminals are riding much higher. So I think we're in good shape there. Now for this side where it's burned, and this isn't really a burn, these are probably, my guess would be nickel plated because there's copper showing underneath here. So I'm just going to take my tool here. We're just going to clean the green portions of the copper off, and there's some carbon there, just so that it makes a nice clean connection. And this is probably the best tool that you can have in your kit, even for a homeowner. These picks, you can get them anywhere. Be careful that you don't get like really cheap ones, because the really cheap ones they're not hardened enough and they'll break when you yank on something. But these picks are just fantastic. I've had these ones from Channel Lock for a while and they've held up fantastic. Definitely worth the investment. So now this should be making much better contact than it was. So we should be in better shape. Now, what I'm also going to do, we serviced this is for a friend of mine. We serviced this in November of 2018, and it was due again November of 2019. And obviously it is January of 2022. So we're definitely a little ways out on that. So I do want to go ahead and check and see where the Cyclones are at. And those actually don't look too bad. So you can see down in here, all of them are clear. No big issues there. No occlusions. There's a normal amount of dust in there, but that's actually not excessive. So this Cyclone unit is still in pretty good shape. So we're just going to give it a quick vacuum off. So the one thing I am going to do is I am going to change this filter. You can tell when a filter has kind of seen better days. I'm not concerned about this. This is not concerning to me. What does make me think this needs replaced is that there's like caked on dirt back behind this initial batting that's like almost like muddy glued to the filter itself. Once it gets to that point, you are supposed to be able to wash these, but once it gets to that point, there's really just no saving them. It's not worth my time. If they pay me for my time to try to get this clean, it'd be cheaper to buy a new filter. So we're just going to swap in a new one. So this particular model was probably, in my opinion, the poorest of the Dyson stick designs. It was an early design, and it's just really, this whole connection between the two is just, it's really chintzy. And what happens is you really have to pull and tug on it to get it to disconnect. But the reason for that is because these little heads, particularly this one, they're a small head, these tend to suction cup to the floor a little bit more than their larger heads. And what that does is it gives a lot of pressure when you're pushing, and you're putting a lot of force on these connections. And that, when you pull back, that force that you're exerting is substantial. So that is what is causing this to pull apart. So hopefully bending those tabs out will take care of that for them. So we're just going to go ahead and swap this guy in here. We're just going to give this guy a quick wipey wipe, just a little bit of dust. Again, this is actually in pretty decent condition considering the last time it was serviced, so I think we're in good shape there. So let's go ahead, and we are going to go ahead and plug this guy back in. And there we go. There we go. So he is back to running. So now what I want to do is I'm going to just spruce this up a little bit, give him a little shot of wax, because again, not super dirty. And we've had this for a little bit, and they're really needing a vacuum cleaner, so I just need to get it taken care of ASAP. All right. I think, yeah. This little tabby tab right here really should be pointing down. That probably would have caused an air leak. There we go. That's better. That's nice and tight. Okay. Now we're in good shape. All right. Feels like a DC35, which is, to say, not super powerful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead. Wow, what was... Okay. There we go. All right. And this guy... Actually, let's go ahead and clean this guy off. We'll just eliminate all these possibilities. Now this is pretty rough. Still turning. So I didn't hear any bad sounds, so it must not have melted down yet, but these smaller Dyson brushes, again, this particular model, probably the worst of all their stick designs. These little brushes just love to retain hair. That looks much better. A little spit and polish does wonders. Got a little hair around the post here. You always want to check that. I did check the drive side of the brush roll for hair and pulled a little bit off. There certainly was not enough in there that would have gotten into the belt or motor, so it was just a little bit. So I'm not gonna worry about that, because again, this particular customer wants it clean, working, but not like he didn't want an overhaul. So if, you know, again, I do what customers tell me to. This is a friend of mine. If he has trouble with it later, then I can take care of it for him. But so again, we'll just do a little bit of polish. Now, initial assessment, you know, if you looked at this and said, why isn't the brush roll turning? Your first gut reaction would be, well, it's because all that hair around the brush roll. And it very well could have been. But you got to think of those connections, because they are so tiny and so fragile, and there's so much stress put on them, that I really think that that was more of the issue, based on the fact that I got it to shut off with some flexing. What we're going to do now, and plug this guy in, and we are going to see again whether or not we can get this to shut off. So I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to kind of flex all the way up and see if it stays running. That was super quick, super simple. I like it when they're this simple. It's not always the case, but in any case, you know, this guy's going to be back in business for not a whole lot of money, not having to invest it in something that was like not one of Dyson's like premier products, certainly. So I think he'll be happy with that. So in any case, yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. So really quick, really simple, but if you have a DC35 and you've noticed shorting, you know, go through the same process that I did. Check your wands on both ends, make sure your brush roll's clean, and then of course those pins on the other side. That was the real issue. Once we pulled out those pins, cleaned up the terminals, we're back in business. So will it happen again? Probably, but by then the battery's going to have died, or the motor's going to have died, or the brush roll's going to have died. Something else will be wrong with it, and it will likely have already hit the landfill before that happens again. So in any case, I appreciate you watching, and of course I will see you in the next video. Bye.